Okay, one more birthday project tonight and then bedtime. So Drew at work is having a birthday and he told me he really likes lemony stuff. So I haven't gotten to use my Bundt pan in a really long time, so I'm making him a lemon Bundt cake with lemon glaze icing. It's gonna be great. Ingredients, we'll go over these a little more in depth, but I've got some sour cream, I've got lemons, I'm gonna juice them, I'm gonna zest them. I've also got lemon extract. We're gonna have a lemony lemon Bundt cake. Baking soda is gonna help us get a little lift. We're gonna use cake flour instead of all-purpose. It's lighter, so it's gonna help that pound cake not to be so dense and heavy, which is a problem with pound cakes. You can get into there pretty easy, so cake flour, it's a good trick. I've got a cup of butter for my cake. I'm gonna add in a half a teaspoon of salt. I always use unsalted butter. I like to control all of my ingredients, so I'm adding in my own salt. Got some confectioner's sugar for my glaze. I'll add some lemon juice to that, some more zest, 4 eggs. It'll be fine. What we're gonna do first is I've preheated my oven to 325, and I'm gonna put some lemon zest in with some sugar, and I'm gonna mush it together to kind of get some of that oil into the sugar. Okay, so we're gonna have 4 teaspoons of lemon zest. Which kind of hard to do, but just kind of pack it in there with your knife so you can kind of gauge that, right? 1. So much lemon zest. 2. 3. And 4. Okay, lemon zest. I just took a grater to it. After that, I totally squeezed it out and got the juice out of it too, because we're gonna use that too. All right, so 2 1/4 cups of granulated sugar. Never wanna scoop anything, you always wanna spoon it in, right? So that way you're getting the right amount. 1. It's about time to refill my sugar. 2. No, I need a 1/4 cup. Let's see. I already used my 1/4 cup. Use this one. 1/4 cup. Okay. So, 2 1/4 cups of sugar. Now I'm just gonna take my spatula and I'm gonna press it into the lemon zest. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but when you press the sugar into the lemon zest, it's gonna let the lemon zest release some of that oil. It's gonna make for a way more lemony cake. And you can actually see it happening in here, right? You can kind of see some of those little yellow spots starting to form. Press your sugar. All right, so I pressed my lemon zest in there. You can see I've got really lemony sugar now. Okay, next up, we're gonna cream our butter. So we're gonna cream it with our lemony sugar. So my butter is definitely room temperature. All of my ingredients are room temperature. My eggs, my sour cream, my butter. You don't wanna be messing around with temperatures. Baking, especially cake, is definitely all chemical reactions, and if you heat something up or cool something down without planning to, then you're making a chemical reaction that you are no longer in control of. So, heads up, don't do that. I'm using a hand mixer, sometimes I use a stand mixer, depends on how much mess I want, how many cakes I'm making, and how I feel. I got the hand mixer. Okay, so we've creamed our butter and sugar, light and fluffy. We're gonna add in our 4 eggs, 1 egg at a time. That part's weirdly important. Don't dump it all in there at once, okay? Okay, so 1 at a time. Normally I would put this in a separate bowl, but I'm sleepy now, so if I drop an eggshell in there, I'm gonna take my other half a cracked eggshell and I'm just gonna scoop it out. It acts like a magnet. It's gonna be fun. Okay, that's fine. See what that's turning into? Cake batter. Okay. We also need 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. So where's my teaspoon? Oh, there's my teaspoon. Told you I was sleepy. So let's get that. All right. 2 teaspoons of vanilla. It calls for the real stuff, right? But that stuff is like 20 bucks a ball. It's gonna be okay. I'm using imitation. Okay, so once we've got our sugar and our butter and our lemon and our vanilla and our eggs all in here creamed together, we're gonna take our 8 ounces of sour cream, which I've had sitting out, so it's already in a little bowl. And we're gonna mix it with 1/4 cup of fresh lemon juice. So all those lemons you saw earlier, I zested and I juiced them. I have lots of extra left over. I'll probably make lemonade for fun. So we're just gonna mix it together. I'm gonna stir it up very gently so I don't make a huge mess. Right. Done. Okay, so we also need our dry ingredients. I've got 2½ cups of cake flour in here. I also need 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. So let's get that. Remember, you always want to be exact, right? I also need a little salt because I'm using unsalted butter. So I'm gonna go 1/2 teaspoon. There we go. Of salt. So I get my salt. Let's just stir all that together, kind of mix it. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna take our wet and our dry and our batter, and we're gonna put them all together. So what we want is about 1/3 of this. We're gonna start with about 1/3 of our dry. So I'm just gonna put it in there. There we go. And we'll mix it up. You never want to overmix, right? You just want to get it just incorporated. Keep on trucking. If you overmix, you're going to get some tough, heavy cake. It's not going to be as cakey as it should be. So then we're going to do 1/2 of our sour cream and lemon juice mixture. Just eyeball it in half. Put that in there. We're going to mix it up. Okay, another 1/3 of our dry. We're doing this so that we don't end up with chunks of flour, right? We want it all to be really well mixed together. So we're doing it kind of in pieces to make sure that we get it all together. Okay, put in the rest of our sour cream and lemon juice. There we go. And we'll top it off with the rest of our dry. Easy peasy. Lemon squeezy, pun intended. Okay, so the last thing you want to do before you finish mixing it all up, please scrape down your bowl, okay? Use a silicone spatula. Silicone will bend, nothing really sticks to it. You're not making a bigger mess. If you don't, you're gonna have these little patches of like flour and ingredients that didn't quite make it into your batter. It needs to be in the batter, right? Like nobody wants to bite down on and get a piece of baking soda or something. Like, also, your cake's not gonna rise correctly if you don't mix it all together correctly. I don't know, just isn't gonna taste right. So you just wanna scrape the whole bottom of your bowl, right? See how easy that kind of comes off my spatula there? There. We'll mix it up one more time and we'll be happy campers. Okay. This is what our lemon pound cake batter looks like. Now we're gonna grease our flute pan and we got this. Okay, so now I have my Bundt pan. I have some cooking spray. This is not the kind I normally use. Normally I'm a pan girl, right? And I'll get the kind with flour for baking because it's less work and I love less work. But this just says baking spray. Let's try it. Right, so you want to use a baking spray or shortening, something that is not butter. Okay, get it fully coated. I'm not going to use flour this time. I'm going to use sugar. I want a nice little crunchy candy-like exterior for my lemon cake. The reason for that is because when you have a lot of sour, you want a little sweet in there. When I told you not to use butter to grease your pan, it's because it will make the cake stick to your pan. And you don't want that. So instead of flour, I'm just gonna put some sugar in here and shake it all around. And that's gonna be how I make sure that my cake doesn't stick. And when it comes out, it's gonna have this nice little crunchy kind of candy coated exterior to it. And it'll make a nice little addition. So now all we have to do is put our batter in our Bundt pan, which is not hard to do. Use your silicone spatula. That's what it's there for. That way you don't waste anything. You don't want to really have to wash the gross out of the bottom of the bowl anyway. What I do is I just kind of do it in chunks, right? So I can try to distribute it as evenly as possible into my pan. So I just kind of turn it. Once you get it in there, you can spread it out a little bit better. But the goal is to just get it in there, right? That's the important part. Get that out of the way. So I'm just gonna kind of spread it. And then I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna put it in my oven. Let's see. So we've preheated to 325. I'll put it on a baking sheet just for fun. It's easier to get out that way. We're gonna bake it for about an hour, 60 minutes. We'll eyeball it. We'll put a toothpick in there, make sure it's done. See you in an hour. Okay, y'all, so as is normal when I make birthday things for work, it's getting late and it's past my bedtime. So even though I've still got a Bundt cake in the oven, I'm gonna go ahead and make my glaze. I'm gonna put it in the fridge because the cake has to cool completely before you put your glaze on, or it's just gonna run off onto the ground. So in here, 2 cups of confectioner's sugar. I put a little teeny tiny pinch of salt in there because I have 2 cups of unsalted butter and the recipe says salted. I'm not a fan of salted butter, so I did it myself. So 2 tablespoons butter. I melted it in the microwave. If you don't know how to do that, you put it in a microwave safe bowl or a cup or whatever you've got, and then 10 seconds. Pull it out, look at it, shake it around, put it in 10 seconds. Normally you get up to 30, but you don't want to leave it in there longer than 10 seconds. You'll burn your butter. The only other thing I'm putting in here is lemon zest. It only calls for a teaspoon. I have more than that. I could save it and decorate with it, totally, but I'm not going to because past bedtime, and I know what I'm like in the morning, and I'm not going to have any inclination to decorate this cake in the morning. So I'm going to put my lemon zest right in my glaze, and it'll make it prettier and more lemony, and that's what we want. So there. And then I also have 1/3 of a cup of lemon juice. My lemon juice is freshly squeezed, because how do you think I got the lemon zest? Yeah. So just take your whisk, stir it up. If it's too stiff, put a little more lemon juice in there, okay? In the morning, it will be too stiff because I'm gonna refrigerate it, and I'm just gonna hit it with a little dab of lemon juice, and we're all gonna move on with our lives. Once I'm ready, I'm just gonna pour it over top of the cake, and I'll try to show you that in the morning real quick before I head off to work. Okay, I think we're done. So, oh, we're done. Here we are. I put a toothpick in there, came out clean, should be good to go. So before I put my glaze on, this has to this has to cool overnight. I'm gonna flip it so that it'll be flat and it'll lay still like it's supposed to, but I'm gonna cheat a little bit. You can always do this, right? But I don't necessarily like the little great lines. I'm a little weird. So I've got a piece of parchment paper. And I'm putting it around my wire rack. Put that on top, okay? And then we're gonna flip it. Ready? Okay. Set my wire rack back. It's mildly annoying because of the parchment paper, but you'll see, it's a trick. I've got a trick to this. When I move it, I'm just gonna slide my parchment paper over to my cake taker, and I'll slide it out from under the cake. So, this should pop out by itself, and it will. I'm gonna let it sit here for a little while, and I'm gonna tap on it a little bit, and it'll come out, trust me. Okay, so I've let it sit for a couple of minutes. Ready? Okay, we lost a little tiny bit in there. No big whoop, because we have a glaze, so nobody will ever see it. Be fine. We're gonna cool this overnight, and in the morning I'm gonna move it to a cake taker, and I'm gonna put a glaze on top, and I'm gonna take it to work and make people happy. Yay, lemon pound cake. I'll show you a picture in the morning. Okay, I'm awake now. My glaze isn't actually all that stiff, so I'm just gonna give it a quick mix. That'll break it up enough to pour. It's pretty, it's got a nice little yellow hue to it. Okay, and here's our Bundt cake. It smells like lemon, so I think that we might have survived this. Okay, this is easy. You're just gonna pour it. It's gonna be messy. Deal with it. You just want enough on the top to where it'll run down the sides. And you want to follow that all the way around. Yes. Oh, that's pretty. If you have a spot where it didn't run down a lot, just kind of hit it again. Oh, I like it. Like I said, it's going to be messy. My kids never seem to care. Lemon Bundt cake.